Make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angelo Rocha. You are listening to Vet for Vets, a show where I talk to local veterans about their life before, during, and after their military service. It's after the new year. A lot of stuff has come up. Veterans are taking their lives at an incredible rate. I don't know why they're doing it, but they are. So here's the deal. If you're a veteran or a fellow military personnel, related person, if you're in a serious suicidal crisis, you can now go to any VA or non-VA healthcare facility for emergency healthcare at no cost. You heard that right, no cost, including inpatient or crisis residential care for up to 30 days and outpatient care for up to 90 days. Veterans don't need to be enrolled in the VA system to use this benefit. This expansion of care will help prevent veteran suicide by guaranteeing no cost, world-class care to veterans in times of crisis. It will also increase access to acute suicide care for up to 9 million veterans who are not currently enrolled in the VA. Preventing veteran suicide is a top priority for many vets like myself. I support every program that relates to veteran, regardless of political affiliation or not. This effort for suicide prevention is a key part of the VA's national strategy for preventing veteran suicide and the plan for reducing military and veteran suicide. In September of last year, VA released the 2022 National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report, which showed that veteran suicides decreased in 2020 for the second year in a row, and that fewer veterans died by suicide in 2020 than any other year since 2006. To me personally, I think one is way too many. And right now we're losing about 22 a day. Sometimes we lose 21, sometimes 20. I still think that's way too many. It should be 0 a day. Veterans in suicidal crisis can now receive the free world-class emergency health care they deserve, no matter where they need it, when they need it, or whether they're enrolled in VA care or not. This is what the VA Secretary for the VA said, Dennis McDonough. He said this expansion of care will save veterans' lives, and there's nothing more important than that. And I agree with him. VA has submitted an interim final rule to the Federal Register to establish this authority under Section 201 of the Veterans Comprehensive Prevention, Access to Care and Treatment Act, or AKA the PACT Act of 2020. The final policy, which takes effect on January 17th, will allow the VA to, 1, pay for or reimburse for treatment of eligible individuals' emergency suicide care, transportation costs, and follow-up care at a VA or a non-VA facility for up to 30 days of inpatient care and 90 days of outpatient care. They also make appropriate referrals for care following the period of emergency suicide care. They also determine eligibility for other VA services and benefits. Refer eligible individuals for appropriate VA programs and benefits following the period of emergency suicide care. Eligible individuals, regardless of your enrollment status, are veterans who are discharged or released from active duty after more than 24 months of active duty under conditions other than dishonorable. Former members of the armed forces, including reserve service members who served more than 100 days under a combat exclusion or in support of a contingency operation, either directly or by operating an unmanned aerial vehicle from another location, who has been discharged under conditions other than dishonorable. Former members of the armed forces who were victim of a physical assault of a sexual nature, a battery of a sexual nature, or sexual harassment while serving in the armed forces can also get this benefit. Over the past year, the VA has announced or continued several additional programs to end veteran suicide, including establishing 988, then pressing 1 as a way for veterans to quickly disconnect with caring. Give me 1 second, everybody. Hello?
Hi, I know you're on air.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to show you. Do you hit that little spinny wheel below the screen?
Yeah.
And then swap cameras.
Spinning wheel. Spinning wheel.
Video.
Spinning.
And click on Feel World. I don't have my laptop, so I can't fix this. I'm sorry.
You said
The little spinny wheel below the screen.
where it says spinning wheel. I don't know what you're talking about.
It looks like a little wheel. It has grooves in it. It's settings. Down below, like the video screen that people are seeing online right now. Okay.
Okay.
There's a little spinny wheel. Different views, and there's a spinning wheel. It looks like a tool.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Click on it.
Okay. And then video.
Video.
Okay.
And then hit Fit World.
Oh, there you go. See, that's more sense. Okay, I can see it now.
Okay, swap for you.
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
All right.
there you go. Yep. I didn't know that. Great. Thank you. No, it's okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I seem to have no camera for like the first 5 minutes of talking about the VA program here. So now I'm actually live now after our little discombobulated intro here. So we're going to continue on anyway, okay? Because I'm a veteran and I've been through worse. This is nothing, absolutely nothing. If you're watching at home or listening at home, or your family who watches or listens to this later, just so you know, the first 5 minutes were bullshit. Disregard it. Pretend like it never happened. But all I was talking about was the fact that the Veteran Affairs have actually changed some of their policies this past year that a lot of veterans don't know, and that's why I'm on this show right now to talk about it. So, over the past year, the VA has announced or continued several additional efforts to end veteran suicide, including establishing the famous 988, then pressing 1, as a way for veterans to quickly connect with caring, qualified crisis support 24/7. They proposed a new rule that would reduce or eliminate co-payments for veterans at risk of suicide, conducting an ingoing and outgoing public outreach effort on firearms suicide prevention and lethal means safety, and leveraging a national veterans suicide prevention awareness campaign. Don't wait, reach out. So what does that mean? If you're a veteran in crisis or concerned about one, contact the Veterans Crisis Line to receive 24/7 confidential support. You don't have to be enrolled in the VA benefits or healthcare to connect. To reach responders, like I said, dial 988, then press 1. Or you can chat online. There's a website you can go to, which I'm about to tell you right now. You go to veteranscrisisline.net/chat. That way you can actually, use your computer and actually talk to them on the internet, or you can text them as well. If you have your phone, your little handy dandy phone, while you're sitting on that toilet and you're feeling like you have to end yourself, which you shouldn't, you can just text somebody at 838-255. Okay. Another program that a lot of veterans don't know about is a program that's called the Invictus Foundation Program. I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of it. Okay. So what is the Invictus Foundation? Well, it's for veteran PTSD recovery. And a lot of people haven't heard about them. There's a man named Peter Wayland. He's the founder and CEO of the Invictus Foundation, which is a program. It's a military-friendly foundation that's at the forefront of efforts to help veterans, active duty service members, and other families suffering the terrible effects of traumatic brain injuries, or TBI, post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, and a vast array of behavioral health issues stemming from their experience in the war. TBI, PTSD, and behavioral health issues afflict hundreds of thousands of people who have selflessly served in defense of this nation, i.e., like myself, except I don't suffer from PTSD. I might get stressed out every now and then, but that's about as far as it goes. But I can't say that with a lot of other friends who actually have been through far worse than I have. The Invictus Foundation plans to build a series of 8 specially designed regional treatment centers of excellence, or they call them COEs. These nationwide veteran PTSD recovery centers will serve veterans, active duty military, and their families, families of the fallen, public safety personnel, and also local communities. Our heroes and their families will receive the most advanced and proven care to address the complex systems of TBI, PTSD, and other behavioral health issues. The overall goal is to return people to their activities of daily living within a new normal life, brought about by their experiences in the war and other psychological trauma. Patients at the centers will come from a diverse and inclusive subset of community populations they serve. These subsets will be rank ordered preferentially, starting with veterans and their families, active duty military and their families, families of the fallen, public safety officers, and community members. Patients will also receive comprehensive interdisciplinary and individually tailored evaluations and treatment during their PTSD recovery. Each of these Invictus Foundation centers which will be built soon, will incorporate a variety of specialties: neurology, neuropsychology, audiology, ophthalmology, speech pathology, physical therapy, occupational therapy, family therapy, plus art and music therapy as well. They will also have psychiatrists and psychologists there on site. They will also offer orthotics and prosthetics for people who are missing limbs or are unable to walk. They will also have stuff involving wheelchairs and other things. The first Invictus Foundation Center of Excellence, or COE, for TBI and behavioral health will be constructed in the Seattle area. Yeah, out of all the states, yeah, I would recommend putting it there, not where most of the veterans live. And they plan on opening it. The first one is going to open in the summer of 2025. Investors, if you're listening and you want to be an investor in this program called the Invictus Foundation, you have a choice of investing for purely supportive reasons or for an adjusted rate of return on your investment, given their affinity for the vision and mission of the Invictus Center and veteran PTSD recovery. If you want to learn more, or if you want to know more about this Invictus Foundation program that's coming to you, you can go to info@invictusfoundation.org. Hopefully, this is some information that some of you will love. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about something called the PACT Act. In case you haven't heard about it yet, our government, even though I'm not very supportive of the current administration, as many of you know, our government has created the PACT Act. PACT. That's PACT Act. It's a new law that expands VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. This law helps provide generations of veterans and their survivors with the care and benefits they've earned and deserve. Right now, you can just call 1-800-698-2411 for more information on this PACT Act. That's 1-800-698-2411 for more information. No, how can you claim for the PACT Act, Angelo? How can you? Well, if you seriously want to know how to contact the VA about the PACT Act, all you have to do is contact them and actually tell them you want to apply for the PACT Act. Okay? What is the PACT Act about? What's it after? Well, the full name of this law is the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson honoring our promise to address Comprehensive Toxics Act. That's promise to address Comprehensive Toxics Act, PACT Act. The PACT Act will bring these changes in case you don't know. It expands and extends eligibility for VA healthcare for veterans with toxic exposures and veterans of the Vietnam, Gulf, and post 9/11 eras. Adds more than 20 presumptive, you heard that correct, presumptive conditions for burn pits and other toxic exposures. Adds more, even more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation. It requires the VA to provide a toxic exposure screening to every veteran enrolled in the VA healthcare system. And it also helps to improve research and staff education and treatment related to toxic exposures. Because say you're somebody who went to Iraq or Vietnam and you suffered through some kind of chemical attack, you're able to show them what you've been through. You can show them physically, and they'll learn from you. So if you're a veteran or a survivor, you can file claims now at the VA. I mean, that's the only place you can go. What does it mean to have a presumptive condition for toxic exposure? To get a VA disability rating, your disability must connect to your military service. For many health conditions, you need to prove that your service caused your condition. So you know what I mean? So that means you have to prove, okay? But for some conditions, the VA automatically assumes or presumes that your service caused your condition. Those are called presumptive conditions. I.e., say, for example, every veteran went blind, right? Or every veteran went deaf. Every single one of them. That's a presumptive condition. That means when you're in, they just assume and presume that you're going to be deaf or blind. So they're going to give you a disability, but the only way you can get disability is by actually applying on the internet or va.gov. Okay. If you have a presumptive condition, you don't need to prove that your service caused the condition. You only need to meet the service requirements for the presumption. So this is where you can go. It's kind of long, but this, in case you want to go to about Agent Orange, any type of chemical attacks or anything to do with burn pits, which a lot of service members, especially the young E1s through about E4s, they're pretty much the ones that always stirred the shit. They were always the ones that threw the stuff in the pits. So you can go to va.gov /resources /the PACT Act and your VA benefits. All those words have a little dash in between. So the PACT Act and your VA benefits. It actually tells you everything you need to know. Everything. So that way you can actually go on this website in case you're one of those people that, got lung cancer from the burn pits or got some kind of mental issue or some kind of physical issue because of chemical attacks. The VA is actually looking after your well-being. They're still, to me, not doing as good as that they should be doing. So, but anyway, that's what it is right now. So you're at home, you're a veteran, you're lonely, you have nobody, and you need a companion, all right? They say that the dog is a man's best friend. That's what most people say. I think it's just, in general, I think just dogs are great animals. And it cannot be more accurate than for veterans. Dogs provide the sense of responsibility and companionship that comes with pet ownership. Or they can also act as a source of both support that is both therapeutic and physically, it gives you that love that you didn't think you'd get from such a beautiful creature. If you're a veteran looking for a service dog to aid you in your day-to-day life, here's what you need to know, okay? Once again, this is for people, it's mostly veterans, because that's what my show is curtailed for. If you're a veteran and you're wanting to know where to get a service dog because you feel like deep down you can get one or you deserve one, this is what you got to do. Just listen to me. What are the benefits of service dogs? Right now, there's approximately 500,000 service dogs on duty in the United States, with 19% of them trained to help owners with mild to severe PTSD. See, service dogs can be trained to perform numerous activities that are helpful to your specific needs, whether it be provide mobility assistance, interrupt harmful behaviors, calm panic attacks, retrieve medication, or more. Service dogs can also be proven to help veterans recognize and cope with their symptoms. They can gain better sleep with them. It reduces their anxiety. It strengthens their relationships with their loved ones. It balances their emotions, and they're able to assist in healthy transitions. The question everybody wants to know is, does the VA provide service dogs? Well, until recently, the VA didn't do anything to provide you with service dogs or anything of that nature. You kind of had to do it on your own. Some people spend 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 to train these dogs to literally become your best friend. And some veterans don't have that money. They don't have the luxury to be able to pay $15,000 for a dog. Okay. However, in August of 2021, a new piece of legislation known as the Puppies Assisting Wounded Service Members, or AKA PAWS, for Veterans Therapy Act was authorized by the VA to create a pilot program on dog training therapy based on the promising train the trainer model. The program will provide dog training skills and service dogs to veterans with mental illnesses, regardless of whether or not they have mobility issues. However, regardless of how you receive your service dog, you will still need to apply for VA veterinary health benefits to get approved for ownership. But Angelo, how can I apply for the veteran program for dogs? Well, first of all, if you have hearing issues, if you need a guide dog, if you need something to guide you around, or if you have issues mobility wise, the veterans should meet with their VA clinical care provider to begin the application process for this benefit. The specialist will complete an evaluation and make a clinical determination on the need for assistive devices, including a service dog. Once the assessment is completed and a service dog is determined to be the optimal tool for your rehabilitation and treatment program, the provider will work with the veteran, i.e., you, to obtain the necessary information and documents to request the benefit. This includes coordination with the local VA medical facilities for your prosthetics and sensory aids in case you need them as well. If you have a mental health mobility, i.e., people who suffer from depression, severe suicidal thoughts, people who are just absolutely bonkers in their head, and you can't do anything about it, the veteran should meet with their VA mental health provider to begin the application process for this benefit. The mental health provider and care team will evaluate and determine whether your mental condition is the prime cause of your substantial mobility limitations. That team or that office will also assess whether a mobility service dog would be your optimal intervention or treatment for that approach. If that team considers a service dog to be the optimal intervention, they will request the benefit on the behalf of the veteran to coordination with the local VA facilities. Okay? That's how you get your dog. Each veteran's case is reviewed and evaluated by a prescribing clinician for the following: ability and means, including family or caregiver, for care of the dog currently or in the future. Goals that are to be accomplished through the use of the dog. Your goals that are to be achieved through other assistive technology and therapy. The veteran will be informed of an approval or disapproval of their service dog request by the VA Prosthetics and Sensory Aid Service. Veterans approved for the service dogs are referred to Assistant Dogs International or International Guide Dog Federation accredited agencies. For more information, where to find a service dog or where you can get connected to a community of veterans that own service dogs, like my first guest, Greg Cooper here, that was one of my guests on the show who has one of those service dogs. The VA usually coordinates with organizations such as people like him and the other programs such as the International Guide Dog Federation or Assistant Dogs International. To access more information on service dogs and how you can process that and how you can acquire one, just go and visit assistancedoginternational.org. That's assistancedoginternational.org. One big long line. So you are somebody who suffers from depression. You are a veteran who has given his all for this great country. You shouldn't have to go through what you're going through. Okay. I get it. There's moments and there's times where you basically fight depression, or you fight your loneliness, or you fight basically your anger. And it's not that you can control it. And I understand that feeling where you get so upset, you feel like you're a completely different person. You get angry, you start throwing things. You get angry, you just black out. Most veterans that I know have those moments where they just completely black out. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be a God-fearing man who goes to church every week. There's times where you're feeling lonely, you're feeling depressed. Some people, they're in financial ruin, or they have addictions like gambling, pornography, or others have issues that they're not telling anybody. They're just suffering through something. Then all of a sudden, those people that are suffering through some kind of symptom related to their military service and the stress induced by PTSD, all of a sudden their loved one passes away. Their loved one tells them they want a divorce. A child passes away unexpectedly, and you feel like your world is empty without them. Then what? Then you don't know who to turn to. And then what do? Some veterans do the most bullshit thing they can do. They put a gun to their mouth, or they take a whole bottle of pills, or they do something like, I don't know, jump off a building or jump off a highway for no reason. When there's people like myself who are there to listen and to talk to try to make them laugh, to make them get over that barrier, that feeling they have, that they want to end themselves. Every veteran that I've had on this show so far since I've started has been in that moment, has been in that mindset, like it's the end of the world. But people like me not many of us exist where we fight through it because we know the world means a lot to them. Like everybody cares about me. When we return, we'll talk a little bit how to deal with depression, how you can guide yourself to a better place. Please stay tuned for Vet for Vets. Thank you.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379 or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Gosh, I love that intro. Tiffany did such a good job picking out the music, especially my intro. Love it. So every week we got to do our little sponsorship. Okay. So just letting you know this because I want to say it. Okay. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County Radio, Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Seriously, like you just literally grab your phone, go to your store, either Apple or Android devices, search for Joco Community Radio, and you'll find us. Okay, check out our lineup and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. That's THETIFFIE.com. That's Tiffany's personal actual store. A lot of cool small little trinkets and cool things for, especially Valentine's Day just passed by. Hopefully you went to her website and bought some of her stuff. And if you didn't, you missed out because she has really good deals and really, really great prices on things for you and your loved one. So continue on what we had going on earlier. You're a veteran, you're depressed, you feel like ending yourself. Why? Why? You are selfish. Don't be selfish. You have no idea the amount of turmoil and devastation that you're actually causing upon others. Seriously, like that's exactly what you're doing. When there's people like myself and others, every other veteran out there would be able to listen to you, make you feel better about yourself. Okay? It kills me every time I hear on the news of some new veteran that killed themselves over something so petty, like their wife or girlfriend breaking up with them or divorcing them. When there's the ability for you to just get past that barrier by moving on. Okay? I created the show Vet for Vets a few years ago. It was very successful at another location. But then while here in Texas, because my daughter Daniela, who, by the way, is pregnant and has a child coming our way, I think personally I'm a little too young to be a grandfather, but it is what it is, and I'll love her and the baby regardless of anything that happens. So a lot of people want to know about me. I've had an episode where I actually talked a little bit about myself. So what I want to do a little right now for the next segment, not sex, maybe, I guess maybe, depends. But anyway, I want to discuss what the show means, what this Vet for Vet means. Okay. I'm a veteran. I would love for nothing more than be able to tell my story, my funny stories that are actually just sad or emotional. Okay. I have my own sets of stories that I've told time and time again to friends and family, even on this radio, but I want to hear from other people who live in my county here in Texas. Other people that are out there that share their stories about their father, share their stories about their mother who raised them by themselves. These young men who didn't know what to do after high school, but then they joined the military and now they're proud professionals of some kind of trade or craft. We have actual heroes in Johnson County. Heroes, people who've actually done things that you would never, ever in a million years dream of doing. Under gunfire, under explosions, under possible death or mutilation. They went ahead straight forward through the gunfire, and they did some stuff that either they got commended for or they didn't. Some people never got awarded medals for doing heroic acts because some units just aren't that way. But some people have. We have a lot of them. We have World War II veterans in Johnson County. They're in their 80s and 90s, some even older than that, and they're dying in droves. Think about this and put this in perspective here. Just think about this. Back during World War II, around 15 million Americans, not just service related, but just people in general, 15 million Americans either helped, aided in the military cause in World War II in the Pacific and in Europe. And out of those 15 million World War II veterans and people who helped the war, out of those 15 million, only around 230,000 remain today. And they're dying left and right. And we want their stories to be put out there. I'm sure they've done documentaries. I'm sure they've been on other shows. But today's kids just don't appreciate their heroism, their amazing ability to fight and live. They will never understand what it's like to be with somebody who you became friends with and having them shot in front of you. They'll never know. Kids these days, a lot of them are entitled. They feel like they're owned the world when they don't even know what hard work means. These veterans that been through some of the worst atrocities in human existence, especially like in World War II, when the Jewish people were suffering through the Holocaust, they went out there and they helped release some of these young Jewish people from their camps. And then they come home to be treated like heroes. And then they're forgotten 40, 50 years later. It shouldn't be like that. They should be loved, respected, honored until the day they die. I feel the same way about Vietnam vets and Korean War vets. The most disliked, for some reason, veterans in history, when all they're doing is they're told what to do. They do their time, they do their heroism, and then they come home just to be spit on, have bags of poop and bags of piss thrown at them at the airport. What kind of BS is that? So, what can I tell you, a little bit about me? Okay, let me tell you a little story. Back in 2003, my company, the Field Artillery 117th Field Artillery Battalion from the 75th Brigade out in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, we were positioned in this little town. I don't even remember the name of the town because it's been so many years, but we were building their school. I remember putting up air conditioners, plastering their roofs, doing their walls. Me and all my unit guys were there just helping build this school. Had a really nice soccer field in the back. Hopefully, maybe some of my fellow Army buddies are listening in that actually served with me in Iraq in 2003. We did all this work for the school. I mean, I couldn't tell you the times that the power generators would go out and we would be just boiling, sweating hot, just sweating because it would be so hot in the building. Hours on hours, day after day. And then the day the school gets built and we hired, or the city hires the teachers, and the first day that it opens, you have these beautiful kids, young kids that finally can get an education because their schools and everything was destroyed during the Iran and Iraq war from the 80s and 70s. So we finally built them schools. And then what happens? The first day it opens, some jackasses, we don't know to this day who did it. They think it was just some young kids, some little terrorists picking pieces of shits. They grabbed some grenades, like 2 or 3 grenades, while the kids were inside their barrier, grabbed some grenades and just threw it over the building. Right over. Boom. Blew up a bunch of kids, killed a bunch of kids. And I remember being in our little camp that we're at, and we found out about this. Our quick reactionary force, which I was the lead of, we drove there, we went through this little city as fast as we could to get to here because we were hoping we would find these people that did this. And then we get there, it's just chaos. Just chaos. And never in a million years, even now, I mean, of course, I try to forget about it. Never in a million years did I ever think I would ever see body parts of a child. But not only did I see body parts, I saw an insane amount of body parts. I remember nobody wanted to volunteer to pick up the parts. Me being me, because I felt like me as a parent, or at the time I wasn't a parent, but I had my stepson, Corbin, who was the son of my ex-wife, Brandy. I felt like I knew what it was like to be a father. So I did what any father would do, and I just started collecting, the limbs, fingers, eyeballs, the teeth, intestines, brain matter. I just started collecting it all, and the one thing that sticks out in my mind that I always remember is I just look over and I just see this child who was clearly dead, who's missing literally half his face, got a shrapnel wound all over his chest, and this father of his is holding him up against his chest. So I'm literally thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away from the US, away from my family, and I'm watching this man, regardless of how bloody and this child was, they held their child for hours, just holding him in their arms, just rocking back and forth like he's just a little baby. Stuff like that is what people think about. Like me, when I think about my military time over there, things like that, moments that are sad, and that's the type of stuff I want to talk about on my show. Stuff that people will understand why we are the way we are sometimes. The stress of making promises. If, like me at the time, I was a sergeant. I was an E5 sergeant, and I was in charge of my own little platoon. And these parents of these young soldiers would come up to me and they'd say, Sergeant Rocha, you please bring my kids back. Please bring my kid back. And I can't make them a promise that I'm going to bring their kid back. I'd say I'll do my best to make sure they come back home with all their 10 fingers and all their 10 toes. And I try. And then we go over there, and all you can do is you try to put it in their brain to just always be aware of your surroundings at all times, regardless of where you're at. Just be aware, always be attentive, don't slack, don't get complacent. Make sure you always keep a lookout on the second floors. You always look out on the buildings just in case some snipers out there. And both my deployments, that's exactly what happened. Nothing happened. My men did good, but I can't say the same for other units or other people in my unit who got blown up by IED, through shrapnel, through sniper fire, through little accidents. Some were through suicide. I remember one time, one guy in another unit that was close to ours, he killed himself. He literally took a grenade, took himself into the porta potty, took a grenade, and killed himself in the porta potty because something happened. I don't know what happened. But that's just one of the probably thousands and thousands of things that my soldiers saw when I was in the military. I mean, yes, some of it is morbid, some of it is gory, but not everything is morbid and gory. Sometimes we had some of the funnest, some of the craziest, and some of the funniest things that ever happened to me. Like I'm going to tell you a little story. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's called The Lifesaver. It's my story about the lifesavers. So what's the lifesavers story, Angelo? So I'm going to tell you right now. So lifesavers, right? The actual candy, you eat them. So when you're in the military and you're overseas and deployed, a lot of times your leadership tells you not to eat a lot of sugars and a lot of candies, i.e. lifesavers and other treats. The reasoning is because when you're deployed and you're overseas, you don't have the luxury of having to brush your teeth every day. You don't have the luxury of having water every day. You're out in the middle of nowhere in Iraq, or you're out in the middle of nowhere in Afghanistan, and you just don't have the supplies. You don't have the toothpaste, you don't have the toothbrush, or whatever happens. They tell you just don't eat the sweets. So what I did with my Lifesavers candy, I would grab these little baby wipe boxes. You know what I'm talking about, the little baby wipe boxes. If you're a parent, you open up the lid and then you have the baby wipe. You use it on your child, you throw away. Baby wipes were the most needed supply in all of Iraq and Afghanistan and military in war history. Every time soldiers got a box of wipe balls, or we call them baby wipes, man, it was heaven on earth. Yes, naked pictures of their wife was pretty good, or naked pictures of their girlfriend were pretty good, or things that involved money. That was always good. Toothpaste was great. Shampoo was great. But the one thing we always loved was baby wipes. So what I did with those baby wipe boxes, every time one went dry or went empty, I would put all my Lifesavers candy in them. Just every time I would grab my MRE Lifesavers, I would just put it in there. And the next day I would put my Lifesavers candy in there. And eventually you have 2 or 3 boxes of baby wipes filled with nothing but Lifesavers. So one day we go on a convoy, really dangerous convoy, by the way, that, anything could have happened at any time. And I can't believe even now this happened to me because it's so funny. So anyway, we go to this middle Bodung town in the middle of nowhere in Iraq. It's pretty much butt fucking Egypt. BFE is what they call it. We're out in the BFE, and all of a sudden we drive past this field with nothing but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. We don't know if they have parents. We don't know anything. We're just kind of driving through this town, but we're stuck because of traffic. And all of a sudden, all these hundreds of kids to our Humvee and other Humvees, they start begging for food. They start doing the mouth thing, like, hey, food, food, food. So me, I'm thinking, okay, I'm sure these kids probably haven't had candy in forever. So I went ahead and I grabbed one of my boxes of MREs, one of my boxes of Lifesavers, which was the baby wipe box. And I grab it and I hold it up in the air. And all of a sudden, I kind of just throw it underhanded to them. For some reason, these kids thought I threw a grenade or some kind of explosive device. I mean, literally, if you don't know what funny is, it's 100 little Iraqi kids just going in every direction, just everywhere. And all of a sudden, after about, I'd say about 2 minutes, out of nowhere, these kids are still scared that it's a bomb because there's a big white box right there in the middle of the field. And all of a sudden, there's this little, we're talking about maybe 120-pound, 10-year-old little fat Iraqi kid. You could tell he's the bully of all them all. All of a sudden, he starts walking and waddling his way towards this little box, just slowly walking. And all of a sudden, I see him dabbing his foot on the box. And I'm looking at him like, no, food, food. But he still doesn't believe me. All of a sudden, he opens it up. He opens up that lid, and he sees the Lifesaver candy. He reaches in there. He eats one of the Lifesavers candy, and all of a sudden, his eyes just open up. And all of a sudden, he yells something in Iraqi, whatever the translation for food, candy, snacks, whatever it is to these Iraqi kids. He says it out loud, and literally 100,000 freaking kids, I can tell you, probably 200 kids maybe, all start running like mad dash towards him. And I swear, I'm sure deep down they've never watched football, the sport, the National Football League, but this kid literally tucks this box of baby wipes underneath his armpit and just starts running like a rugby player / football player and just starts pushing all these kids out of the way. These kids are trying to trip this fat boy. The fat boy trips, does a roll. He stands back up. All of a sudden, boom, he runs in this building, and all these kids are like a zombie, just zombies just pounding on that door. Wow, let us in, let us in. And at the time, it was like the funniest thing I had ever seen. Incredible, and that's one of those experiences you cannot fathom ever happening to you with literally 100 kids, 200 kids, however many it was, and that's one of my funny stories. That's the type of stories I want to hear on this radio show, on the Vet for Vets show. That's why I'm hoping more veterans volunteer to come on my show instead of doing, I get it, 1 hour is not enough. You do a 1 hour show and then it just goes away real quick. The hour goes by so quick, but I love to hear their stories. I want to hear their heroic moments. Like I saved the little girl in Iraq. I was in front of a whole battalion of soldiers. We're talking about, probably 100. I couldn't tell you how many. It was a lot of soldiers. I got honored with an Army Commendation Medal for saving a little girl. But Angelo, how'd you save this little girl? So that's what I'm going to tell you. One day in this little town in Iraq, northeast of Iraq, because my unit, what we did is we guarded the Iraq and Iran border. That was our goal. Just protect it. Just not let the Iranians in and don't let the Iraqis go into Iran. So there's no probable cause for another war. So there was this little town called Connaughton at the time. Connaughton was this Kurdish town full of just nothing but Kurdish people. And if you know anything about the military or the how Iraq works, Kurdish people are very pro-American, very pro-American. They're one of those people that are like, yes, America, come on in, kill Saddam, kill Saddam, kill Saddam. And we go to this little town, and this little town was so American friendly that we never really worried about snipers or IEDs or anything like that trying to get us, because our town was, this little town of Connaughton was actually very, very good towards us. They gave us free food. They gave us free liquids and drinks and soda pop, free books, free pens, free everything. They gave us little facilities for internet. They would charge us very low rates for the internet, so we were able to text, message, email our friends, and video chat with our friends because of them. This was the first time we were there before anything was even really set up. These Kurdish people helped us. And what happened was, one day I decided, me and my two of my fellow soldiers, we decided, let's go to this little town of Connaughton to just walk around their market. We're just going to go to the market. We'll just go walk around. We'll see if we can buy some stuff that we can send back to America, to our families, which we did. We bought some stuff. I bought these little notepads. I bought this box of chalk, because it's cool, because it's made in Iraq, or it's made in Afghanistan, or it's made in Iran. It's really cool little, Arabic stuff. It's amazing. So as we're driving back, all of a sudden I hear a girl screaming through this little small, tiny little alleyway. I hear a little girl screaming. I don't know what's going on. I just happen to, I get a little glimpse of a dog looking like they're tugging really hard on something. So I tell my soldier to stop the vehicle. So I grab my M4, my M4 rifle, and I just start dashing down this corridor, this little small alleyway. And I look, and sure enough, it's just these two dogs are just mauling this little girl. I don't remember how old she was. She was probably like 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, just mauling her. One had a bite of her legs, another one's pulling and biting her hair. I could see she had her face already cut up. She's just screaming a bloody murder. So I just went ahead, and if anybody knows me, they know I was a football kicker back in high school, and I can really punt, like soccer balls, football. So I kicked one of these dogs so hard, I could feel the ribs breaking underneath my foot, and I flipped it over off this girl and hit a wall, and it was just breathing heavily. I knew that was going to die, but the other dog was still biting. But I got it kind of kicked in such a way where it didn't kill it, but the dog ran off. And I didn't want this dog to eat, bite any more children or bite anybody else. So it happened to run across the street to the desert, and it started running away. So I just grabbed my rifle, and I just took a shot. Boom! The dog flipped and it died. So all of a sudden I grabbed the little girl. I took her. I bandaged her up, and we took her to the medic in our camp. At the time, it was before it was called Camp Wyatt. It was called something else, and I saved this little girl. We got the parents showed up. The father was like kissing my hand. It was an emotional time. He was telling me thank you, and the translator is telling me that he wants to give me everything. He wants to give me the world. And my commanders are telling me, Angelo, you did such a good, Sergeant Rocha, you did such a good job. I can't, this is good for us. You did good. And literally about a couple of days later passed, and all of a sudden we have a formation, and all of a sudden, like, this colonel or somebody high ranking calls me up in front of the whole unit, and they gave me an award for saving this little girl's life, including the girl's family was there, like her entire family. We're talking about, like 30 brothers and sisters. It was insane. And it was one of my proudest moments. And the one thing I couldn't do at the time was share with my family, because they weren't there. Nobody. I was married at the time to a woman named Brandy Myers, or Brandy Rook at the time, and she didn't know about it. My family, my sister, Monica Silva, my mom, Maria Rocha, my dad, Emmanuel Rocha. None of them were there to know about this, except for my fellow brothers in arms and women in arms too. We had a lot of females in our unit. And it was one of those things where it was an experience. You pray to God every single day that nothing ever happens to you while you're over there. Even if you're not religious, you're still going to be praying, because you're hearing bombs go off all around you. You're hearing gunshots go off all around you. You see Americans, other Americans, from the news. You see Americans, celebrities out there. Being a veteran is more important than a lot of people give credit to, because you're putting yourself in a position that we're talking about like 2% of Americans will put themselves in. And that's in a place to where they could possibly be killed, maimed, blown up, shot, discombobulated, smeared. Anything can happen while you're overseas. You could be at a chow hall eating with your friends or a dining facility, and all of a sudden just a mortar hits, like it happened over there. Sometimes you have incidents where these people are on their last day. They're on their way back to America after serving a whole year in Iraq or in Afghanistan in theater. They serve a whole entire year. They make it without a problem. And all of a sudden they get on a helicopter or they get on a chopper or they get on a plane, and the damn effing plane crashes, killing all 20, 30, 40 souls on the plane. I mean, stuff like that happened all the time when I was in service. You'd hear about it. Some of these men and women have been through some of the worst atrocities in human existence. And what do? They get no respect. They don't get treated right. I'm hoping every single one of you thanks a veteran for what they've done and what some of them will do in the future. My name is Angelo Rocha. You have been listening to Vet for Vets. Thank you for listening, and have yourself a good night.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.